Welcome. I'm Susan Kessel, and this is our Fairfield Art Association party to celebrate art and our exhibiting artists and the first day of spring, hence the bright outfit. This is our 56th year, and it promises to be packed full of art. Our main gallery exhibits are booked for the next year and a half, and our hallway gallery, which we feature membership artists for 2 months at a time. Our children's art camp is already scheduled for the first week of August, and I've had one person call already about that. We offer regular classes with John Preston and Elaine Duncan. Elaine's on a little break because she broke her arm, but she'll be back. And we want to have more art classes and art experiences this year. This spring, we'll be hosting a plein air day for artists, which you're all invited to at the Farmers Market. And that date, I set the date, but I don't have it in my notes because I just said it, but I think it's in June, end of June. We'll let you know. And later this summer, we're talking about a member invitational paint-in, which we'll do here in the atrium, which some of you might have seen before, where we all kind of go crazy and are asked to paint a huge still life, something from the still life, in about an hour and a half. And that will be our exhibit for the next 2 months then. So that should be fun, and you'll be getting information about this. I'm going to introduce our current board members. Now, some are not here. Mackenzie Champ is president, and she was here earlier and had to leave. Treasurer Deb Doyle is in Cancun. And Elaine Hawthorne is in Florida. Kella Chop just went off our board. And Matt Johnson called today and said he couldn't be here. So that's leaving our secretary, Jan Burke, who made those beautiful cookies with the flowers on them. She is a talented lady. And then John Preston, our wonderful addition to our board always. David Kraemer, high school art teacher. Werner Elmker, our wonderful volunteer helping with camera and photos. Our newest one of our newest member, Jenny Sammons. Matt Guys, who is a teacher at Pekin. Okay. And Sarah Phipps back there, who works here, is just going to be coming on at our next meeting. So I'm excited about our new members, new young enthusiastic members. Thank you. Oh, and Wendy Rutledge back there is our wonderful, helpful sales studio staff. I think she's the best we've ever had. I would like to introduce any past board members here. Can you raise your hand? Wendy? Mark? Dawn, Bob. Okay. Now, some of those people are really important. That was a bad way to say this. First, I'm going to say that we've had 23 presidents in our 56 years. Are any of those here today? Past presidents? Past president. I think you were a founding president. Mark. No, vice president. Vice president. Dawn. Okay. And then that takes me to the very important people who are lifetime charter members. They helped form this organization in 1966, 56 years ago. There are 3 people here today that have been members continuously for 56 years. Bob Glocke, Mark Shafer, and Don Kraemer. We also have, not here today, Gary and Ann Cameron and Larry and Janet Nash. We honor them from now on by calling them our lifetime members. So we have lost several in the last few years. But it's amazing that you have continued straight for 56 years. That says a lot. So now we're going to have David Kraemer and John Preston tell us about our 12th annual summer art installation. I don't know if you want to bring that up here or just turn around back there, and I'm going to bring this up here so you can hear. Hopefully I'm holding this close enough. So whoever's talking gets to hold this.
Okay, David, if you'd like to grab a couple of there's windows leaning over there. So this year we're going to have whatever you can do creatively with a window sash, and it's pretty open-ended actually. They're going to hang from the poles, and what we're going to do is limit them to, we have some that you can pick up, or you could get them at Restore, or you might even have some around, or you could paint on them, you could attach things to them. They don't necessarily have to have glass. We were thinking even with the screens, someone who's sort of fiber-oriented might weave something into the screens. You can attach things to them. And our size limit is going to be a minimum, we want more of a portrait orientation rather than a landscape. The minimum will be 16 by 20, and the maximum will be 32 by 40. And you can allow things that protrude from the edges or, attachments that you put on them up to 6 inches past that. So the only attachment protocol or whatever we'd have to do is we're going to have big eye bolts, which we will supply you with, 3 of them, 2 at the top, 10 inches apart, and 1 at the bottom towards in the center, and that will allow us to attach them to the poles with wire. We have 18 slots open. One's already taken. So we've got some ideas here of things that you might do to them. You could take glass out, put stained glass in. You could paint on the glass. You could take the glass out, put whatever your mind conceives in there. As long as it's relatively weatherproof, consider that. They'll be hanging outside. And I don't know, we have, if you want to sign up on the table where you came in to register, there's a sign-up sheet. And then we have plenty of papers here that give you the particulars. Well illustrated. So you don't have to guess too much. And the information that you need to fill out to enter. So looking forward to what people come up with, and we'll see. So enjoy that.
Thank you, John and David. It should be a fun project. Windows are something people like to purchase and hang, whether it's outside or inside. So I think it could be really fun. So this year's membership exhibit is one of our largest that I can remember. We have 38 artists and 87 works in a variety of media. We opened it up this year. Instead of giving out a canvas, we let people, it was under a certain size, but we let them have up to 3 pieces, and a lot of people did submit 3 pieces. So it's been very fun to include. We also have some jewelry in this case over here, and we have some ceramic pieces, which we haven't had for a while. So I'm thinking we might do this again next year, maybe a little tweak in how we did it, but letting people create in different media. So we get potters and photographers and fiber art, some things that we haven't had for a long time. So it's nice to include those artists also. I wanted to let you know that winners stay late after the meeting, after this event, for photos. And the exhibit ends on March 25th. But if you're from out of town and you need to take your piece today, you can check it out and we'll let you take it, because I don't want anyone to have to drive back just for Friday. Okay, I am going to have our new member, Matt Guys. Our new member, Jenny, first. Jenny is going to present the vote for the favorite artwork.
Okay, yes, this is the People's Choice Award. And it goes to, I'm going to read this, Zidonia 3 by Anne Bosold. So you can use this voucher to select a show you want to go see. Go to the box office to get your tickets, and drink tickets are included. Congratulations, Anne.
Thank you, Anne. It's the top one with the pink. Which one is it, Suzan? The one below it. The one above it is Jenny's. It's fun to have a vote, and hopefully, one person doesn't stuff the ballot box. But we check, and so Wendy was keeping track of everything and tallying up, and you won. So congratulations. The next, I'm going to introduce our judge, Mark McWhorter. He grew up in Ashland, a small town in the hills of eastern Kentucky. He earned both a BA in 1977 and an MA in 1979 while attending Morehead State University in Morehead, Kentucky. Beginning in 1980, he was employed to teach art at Indian Hills Community College in Ottumwa, and course assignments included a wide variety of subjects from art history to ceramics and watercolor. The opportunity to teach a wide range of art subjects and media is one of the characteristics of working at a community college that Mark most appreciated. In 1984, Mark was asked to design the Indian Hills Art Gallery on the Ottumwa campus, and I don't know if any of you have been there. It's very nice. With the gallery's completion in 1985, then he was appointed Indian Hills Art Gallery Director and Curator, and in July of '99, he was appointed lead professor of Indian Hills Community Art Department. In the summer of 2020, Mark retired from his teaching position at Indian Hills, and since then, he's been able to continue his work as an artist full-time. We have had his exhibit in the past. I'm not sure if it was in this facility or in the old Carnegie building, but I know we have, and I think it included your pottery and watercolors. Here, okay. So he works comfortably in several media. His works in clay consist of both traditional and non-traditional utilitarian vessels. Subject matter for his two-dimensional works in watercolor acrylics are taken from the rural Iowa landscape, from travels in North and South Carolina, and the Northern Rocky Mountains. He says, as a realist, I try to distill what I see down to only the elements that perfectly describe the subject without necessarily detail and overcomplicated color. McWhorter has exhibited his work in both gallery and art festival settings in various regions of the United States, including Kentucky, Iowa, Missouri, and Wyoming. His works can be found in corporate and personal collections in the United States, Europe, and Japan. So I just wanted to add, we used to do art fairs together, and I got to know him, and when we built our house, I had him make a sink and tile for a bathroom that we still have in our house today, and I love it. So, very talented man. So, I'm going to have you start by announcing the 4 outstanding awards, and Matt Geis is going to come up and present these to the winners.
This close enough? You can't hear me?
You almost have to be here.
Okay. So is this close enough? Okay. I really can talk loud. Well, 40 years as a teacher, you learn how to talk. And I'm an introvert, so that makes it even harder. But anyway, so, okay, the 4, what are we calling them? Outstanding?
You can do one by one, and then you'll hand it as you do this.
Okay, so let's do these in alphabetical order, but I didn't write them in this way. Let's see. The piece by Carleen Dingman Atwater, the Denning Conservation Area, and that was one of my choices. It's one you could look over because it's so small and it's very subtle. I think maybe I was drawn to it because historically one of my favorite artists, I did teach art history, so I always think through that view, was Camille Caro, who was a mid-century French artist. The next generation of artists were the French Impressionists, and they thought that Caro hung the sun and the moon. So, and his work is always very subtle. I always love the way he handles greens, and Carleen has a lot of that in that piece. I love the spontaneity about the piece. Spontaneity is always that you're running that. It's like being on a tightrope and you're losing your balance and you have to run all the way to the end. And that's kind of where she was at on that. So she's flicking the brush and she's doing this and that. And to me, it seems like every paint stroke was perfect. What else did I write? I've got to go with my notes here. I think I hit it. Very spontaneous. It's very subtle, but it's worth looking at closely. I'm not a big detail person, but it has wonderful little spots to look at. I mean, it's just a really nice little painting. Okay,
I don't think Carleen is here today.
I think she is.
She is.
No, she said that she didn't think she was here. I haven't seen her.
She's from Fort Madison, correct? No. Okay.
She's from that area.
Oh, that area, rural.
Okay. Then John Evans and the Summer Morning Light, this piece. And I love John's work. I've always loved the color. His work is something that really makes me want to do pastels, but I know better than to get into something else. And I think, if you're an artist, you know that. Watercolor, or oil. It's just, there's so many different things we can get into, but for me, I need to put all my attention into just one or two areas. But I have always loved the color in John's works. His compositions are always just absolutely wonderful. And I really fell in love with that phthalo green that he's got in there that you just can't really use in a landscape very often, but he managed to do it and it looks perfect. It starts with these wonderful little highlights down in the bottom center. Then as you move up, you get to the skyline, the edge between the trees and the sky. And I love the way he manipulated that and the little sky spots in the trees. It was just a marvel to behold. I wrote this up. It sounds better than what I'm saying right now. Okay, next is, get it alphabetical, Hans Olson. This piece up here, the Twilight Thunderhead, it's big enough. I don't think you have to pull it off the wall. The main subject of that is the Thunderhead, and I love the way the shape of the Thunderhead is almost repeated in the tree, so you get this wonderful repetition. And you could actually go to the little tree by the church too, but I've always loved Hans' use of color. He has this very distinctive kind of orangish palette that you see in his work. If you look at all three pieces, you can see orange in there. And anyway, it's hard to miss his works. If you know his work, you'll see it immediately. What else did I say? His not just his color, but also the contrast is really nice in that, especially in the cloud. And when you use a lot of color and a lot of contrast in clouds, you run the risk of them looking heavy and like they'll drop out of the sky. He managed to keep the atmosphere and still have a lot of contrast in those clouds. I'm always a little leery of painting clouds myself. I've been watching John paint clouds on his demonstrations, and I actually did a painting recently where I used a little bit of what I saw on one of yours. But anyway, in watercolor, I'm always a little bashful about putting too much contrast in there, but I really admire what Hans did there. I think I covered everything that I wanted to say, but yeah, wonderful contrast and color. Then, and I don't think Hans is here either. Yeah, I don't think he is. And that's 3, is that right? Yeah, okay. So then the fourth one is Wendy Reed. And this quilted piece here, Summer Storm. I seem to be drawn to pieces that had the word summer in them, or storm, or thunderhead, but maybe it's the landscape painter in me. But that's a wonderful piece. I saw it, actually someone was viewing it and they pointed to it, and I hadn't really noticed it till then, and then I got back and looked at it, and it just has this wonderful contrast. Beautiful complementary color between the reds and oranges and the blues and greens. And then as you get closer to it, you see all of the stitching and all the little shapes that are created with that. And I said earlier that I'm not much of a detail person, but this has wonderful detail that gives you a reward for going up and looking at it really close. So, yeah, in my own work, I'm a little suspicious of a lot of tight detail because I have this tendency to do that, and then my paintings always suffer. So then I have to kind of step back and think, okay, what are the big shapes? What are the large forms? Not all the little windows in that building 3 miles away. So I think I've covered it.
So, and Wendy is here. So, congratulations. We had the artist pick one of their pieces and put a sticky note by it if they wanted a critique. So, I guess you can start over there and come this way.
I'm nervously pacing. I knew when I agreed to do this show, Fairfield is not a terribly large town, but there's probably not a town in the United States, I would go so far, this size that has so many talented artists. And so that was a bit intimidating, and the show bears that out. 4 awards. Really, there could have been so many others, because there are a lot of pieces up here that are equal to the pieces that I chose. So if I came in tomorrow, I would probably pick a different 4. So if you're feeling a little disappointed that you didn't get this award, I'm sorry, but it's one person's opinion on one day. So if I came in tomorrow and I was grumpy, I'd probably choose some other pieces, or whatever. So I'm not grumpy today. So okay, so I guess this is the furthest piece, and that's Deb Bauman's Harvest. And I don't know how to. I need to be close enough to see it. I've been a fan of Deb's artwork for years. Deb, you had how many shows in the Indian Hills Gallery? At least 2. Yeah. So she's one of these artists that she'll do anything, No, she does. Plus, I own one of her pieces that I'm part of the subject matter. So that counts for a whole lot. She painted a watercolor of an art fair, and you can see me kind of off to the side with some of my pots. Okay, so this piece, A Harvest, I looked at it and this piece for quite a while. Challenging subject, showing that harvest of corn and the transition from, cut to growing, and those deep shadows between the rows. I think she handled it quite well. And I like the little red barn up there, and then the suggestion of a house there. The forms are nice. The color is strong. But really what draws me to Deb's work is her brushwork. I just really have always liked her brushwork. And it goes through these pieces down to this little watercolor. It's always kind of a reward for looking at them close. You get all those wonderful little brush strokes. Sometimes I wish they were bigger so we could enjoy them even more. So then this piece up here, named Fullness, Laura Weinberg, is that right? Okay, there she is. And it's a pretty exuberant painting. It seems very celebratory. Even though I think these are flowers, they almost burst like fireworks. A lot of color, a lot of texture. So there's a lot of good things going on. If I had one suggestion, is it maybe needs a little bit more contrast, maybe between the flowers and the green backdrop. The greens could be a little darker, and that might push the flowers forward. But I love I think I used the word exuberance, but the exuberance of the whole thing. It's a lot of fun to look at, but I think it could use just a little bit of contrast, just a little bit more contrast. Then, okay, I'm going to screw up the last name. Kathleen Ameline, okay. Yeah, I knew I would have screwed up the name. And this piece is the Wickfield Pavilion. And, I said I was drawn to pastel, so I looked at this one for quite a while just because it's a fun piece. And it has, it's a building that would not be very easy to draw. I know if I were doing it, I would tend to make it look more flat than it is. And she managed to keep the viewpoint well, which you can lose track of in a painting, but you get that sense that you're at about level with these windows, and you're looking up at portions of it. And I love the highlights on the, what is it, cupola? Yeah, whatever. I know there's a fan in there. I was going to call it a fan. So I love that control. I love the little spots of like cerulean blue that's showing up there, and the yellow in the windows. Again, a little bit of light blue touched there. So those wonderful little flicks of color. It's one of the reasons why I like Impressionism so much, and this piece kind of goes with that. So it has a lot of those little flicks of color that are so nice. But it has this, she managed to keep the form strong and seems true and believable. I might have avoided it because I'm not sure that I would have gotten it right. So it's one thing about being retired is I can pick and choose what I want to do, and if I don't want to do it, who cares? So I might avoid it. It's one of the reasons I'm a horrible plein air artist. I mean, some of you guys are just really good at doing that. I need to be at home in my studio where I'm comfortable and there are no bugs. And, and I say that being an avid backpacker, but where I backpack, it's usually way in the mountains, and, you might have some mosquitoes, but for whatever reason, my body chemistry doesn't attract mosquitoes. So I remember once sitting around a campfire, and there were some other people in tents around, and one guy came up to me, and he was just swarming with mosquitoes. And he looked at me, and he said, "There is not a mosquito around you." I don't know, just lucky. I like my comforts in my studio, and I can do a little wash, and then I can walk away and go to Facebook, or watch some TV, or read my book, or whatever, and then go back and make another little wash. So I'm not a very fast painter. But I love the spontaneity in pastels, and this piece has that. Very nice work. I was looking at that one for an award, but there are probably half a dozen pieces here that I considered for an award that didn't get one. So, okay, who's next? Jenny Salmon? Oh, Sammons, I'm sorry. There was a coach when I was in high school, always put an S on my name. It always just bugged me to death, so, okay, I'll put the S on. Sun Through the Trees in Winter. And this wonderful kind of, even though these would be considered quilts or trapunto or whatever, but this is almost like a quilt. And, everything is filled with these visual textures. I looked at that one for quite a while, and it almost seemed like it could be an illustration in a book. But I really do like the textures that are added in such a flat way. Paul Gauguin would have loved that, because that's what he thought art should be, is shapes and colors arranged in a pleasing fashion with texture. It was something like that. I can't remember the exact quote that he preached at Vincent van Gogh when they were living together in Arles. But this piece has that. I think Gauguin would have appreciated it. But it does have a very strong design. All roads lead to the intersection there in the lower center, and I like the color too. It's all about shapes and colors and textures, but and there's a lot to explore in there. But the color is very strong. Some is subtle and some is brilliant, and it's a strong piece. Okay. And Bosold, is that right? Okay. As a teacher, I know I can screw up a name. I can screw up the name Smith. So. Indian Hills has so many foreign students now because of all the athletic teams, and we had, I had students from Brazil and various countries in Africa and various countries in Europe and New Zealand and Australia, and so many different names. And yeah, I just kind of gave up. As soon as I could transition to first names, I would. Okay, so Anne's work. And some of this is airbrushed, is that right?
Spray paint.
Spray paint, okay. Well, it's kind of a poor man's or poor woman's airbrush. But yeah, it looks like airbrush. And it gives it this wonderful dimension. These things pop forward, set back, and but not all of it is spray paint. So you've done some dripping, whatnot, but you just show wonderful control and all of that, and a lot of patience. If you think about it, because each layer you're going to have to wait for it to dry, and again, kind of like this, it has so many different textures and different things to explore. But like that piece, it also functions well from a distance. So you guys that are seated out there can still understand this piece, but close up you have all these wonderful little areas like little dots in there and the little plant growing through there, and I don't know, just so many little facets. It's a lot of fun to look at and explore. Do you ever do any of those really large?
Anyone?
Large?
I just started during the pandemic. That's the biggest I've ever done.
Oh, okay. Might be cool to see one that's like 4 by 5 feet. Take a long time. I know you couldn't have put it in this show because there's a size limit, so that's why I asked, but it might be a lot of fun to see a large one. I could see something like that hanging in the entryway of some corporate headquarters or something, couldn't you? I mean, it looks like, yeah, it's a good piece. Okay, then, okay, so down here, and I think this is Bruce's. Nope, Bonnie, and I need to, Hendrecker? Hendericks, okay, I'm sorry. I hate my glasses. Oh, okay. Then I will blame it on that. So, yeah, a very strong piece. And that's another one that I considered. And I really like the subtle color in the piece. I mean, I like brilliant color, but I also appreciate color that's laid in a subtle fashion. And I love the highlights in the sail. Little spots of lighter color. So good control of those lights and darks. In the landforms here, again, there's a lot of interesting little shapes. But overall, really, you have this long horizontal painting, so you have a long horizontal, which you need. And then you have this wonderful diagonal that's broken by several different interesting little intersections with the rigging and the sails and whatnot, but I do like the composition. If you paint a painting like this, again, you might kind of experiment with the boat being one way or the other. Right now, it's almost centered, and in this painting, that's not a bad thing, but you could consider probably more that way, but I like the painting. And I know that's not much of a critique, but I do like the painting. Okay, and then Werner, how do you say your last name?
Elmker.
Elmker, okay. Yeah, I was drawn to all three, particularly this one for myself. Did you climb something, or do you have a drone?
I have a drone.
Okay. Well, there could be a windmill there with that farm. I saw you hanging off the edge of the windmill, trying to snap a picture. But yeah, the clarity of that piece, also the way it's presented, is very, very strong. And the the layers in here, and I love this, the kind of wispy landscape off in the distance. Yeah, I mean, it's a painterly photograph. And as a landscape painter, that's probably my best praise. But I love photographs, but I'm not a particularly gifted photographer, but I do appreciate a good one when I see it. And photography was very strong in this show. So, but I do like the layers in that and the contrasts. I also appreciate that, you know, I mean, these darks, they're not quite black. So there's still form in that. My photography teacher when I was in college, you know, that was something he always fussed at us. He hated silhouettes. You know, if it's just all black and, you know, with a bright sunrise behind it or something like that. And that's what, you know, every kid in high school that's in an art class discovers. You know, you can do landscapes that way, you know, just a silhouette of everything, and then you put bright colors behind it. But this has forms in the shadows. And, yeah, old Gene Pyle would have really liked that. I can't remember it. I've tried to remember it. He had a nifty little saying about forms in the highlights and something in the darks. It all kind of went together nicely, but I can't remember the whole thing. But I have always remembered that. But I do like the layers. I do like being able to see some details. And I do a lot of paintings that are along that line, and I always try to keep some form in the darks. And that is important. You don't want to just black out a section of an artwork. Okay, what is next? So we're up here. Ron Weinberg. Okay, and yes, this wonderful photograph up there that again almost looks like a painting. Where is Ron? Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. That's another one that I looked at for a long time. I'm just sorry that because it's a superior piece. And I can't pretend to understand exactly what's going on there. But I love the composition with all the fabric hanging down. It's just, it has kind of a photojournalistic quality about it, but it also functions well as an abstract, almost non-objective work. So it has this wonderful array of colors and depth. Yeah, a superior piece. Connet, is that right? Okay. Again, you know, I could screw up a name. I almost said Carrie, so where are you? Oh, okay. Neat painting. This is another one that would be really cool to see one of these things. Really big. Have you done one large? Oh, okay. Might be kind of intimidating, but yeah, it's an extremely subtle piece. And I love the kind of Mondrian frame that you put around it. Yeah, but, you know, get up and look at it, even if you have to get down on your knees like I did. And my knees aren't as good as they used to be. But, yeah, it has this wonderful texture. I'm not even sure how you did that. I thought I did, but I'm looking at it now. And, you know, that's one of the things that's nice about it is there's some mystery about it, and you're not sure, how did she do that? And don't tell anybody, because that's the cool thing about it. It has a very central composition, but there's a lot going on in these various forms that kind of go in and out. So that's strong. You know, it's basically monochromatic, but within that you've done a lot. So I love the painting, I love the presentation. But yeah, I would like to see it like 5 foot by 5 foot or even bigger. You know, Georgia O'Keeffe said if she'd painted her flowers life-size, nobody would have ever looked at them. You know, so, you know, she painted them huge, and people went and looked at them. Okay, so let's see. We're to this piece. And again, my glasses don't want to focus on one place. Brett Hendericks. Okay, and we have, let's see, it's called Conception, which explains some of the symbolism that I'm looking at there. But is it plant conception or is it animal or human conception? I mean, the greens kind of say something, and then the forms say something else. So, is that a seed, or is that a human egg? It leaves it a little bit more kind of out there for you to figure out, and I like that aspect of it. I also love the composition. It has this, it's this oval kind of egg shape again. There's that aspect to it. And it has a little Georgia O'Keeffe in it as well, since I mentioned her name. What's that? Oh, and Judy Chicago? Yeah. Kind of along the same lines. Beautiful technique. And that's another one that could be expanded in size. 6 foot tall, 4 feet wide. Be pretty powerful. It's still powerful. So it's a very enjoyable piece, and I enjoy the symbolism in it. Okay. Then Matt Guys, Iowa. It's kind of a humorous look at Iowa. And it is definitely a fun piece to look at. And it takes the whole idea of comics and turns it into art, which is, something that's very doable, and has a lot of things in there that anybody who's lived in Iowa for any length of time can appreciate. So is Matt here? Have you done Ragbri? It seems like there's a lot of suggestions about Ragbri in there.
I do bike, but I think I did Ragbri for a couple hours one day.
Well, you've done Ragbri. I have not done any. So.
I've lived in Iowa my whole life, so I just took everything I could think of about Iowa. I had to get permission from some of the universities and Hy-Vee to use their logos and that.
Oh, yeah? Well, that's fun. Corporations know now to give artists the right to do those things. I mean, it's good to ask, but I suppose Andy Warhol is the one that broke into that. If I remember right, Campbell Soup took him to court with his first paintings, and then realized that it was self-defeating. This guy is doing advertising for them. Before that, was anybody really interested in Campbell Soup? Anyway, neat piece, very entertaining, which I think is the whole intent of the piece, is to entertain. So it's very entertaining. And it does function well from a distance compositionally, but you got to come up and look at it so you can giggle a little bit along with the artists. And then this very interesting piece, Trish Rocca. That looks like some of the places I backpacked in. Is Trish here? Ah, okay. So, is that alcohol ink? Okay. So is there control in there, or I'm sure there's some control, but I know a lot of times you just kind of, it's like watercolor in an aspect. You kind of set things in motion and kind of let it take its direction. Well, actually, both of these pieces, I think that's yours too. This is yours as well. Anyway, both those pieces are kind of along the same lines, and I've studied both of those. But that one up there, the way it's mounted and framed is really strong. But I love the composition you came up with, and it really does look like a lot of the American West, the more desert regions.
Quick question, can you stop it as it's changing and morphing? Can you have control that you can stop it?
It looks tricky. Okay, then Susan Kessel's painting up here at the top. Susan has a great sense of composition and design, but I really like the colors in that, the glimpses of reds and kind of a purples that show up in there that are somewhat unexpected, but make the painting very interesting to look at. It's a beautiful piece. Great contrast. It's water lilies, but actually the blossoms almost look like magnolias from. I grew up in Kentucky, you know, and my mom's favorite tree was the great big magnolia. Not these pitiful things that we grow here in Iowa that we call magnolias, but the big, by the way, those huge magnolia trees were really fun for kids to climb in because there's nothing on the inside but branches. You know, you can climb all the way to the top. But I love the suggestion of magnolia blossoms in that. But yeah, beautiful color. Okay, where are we at? I don't want to miss, did I miss any along here? Okay. I'm being thorough. So then I have, I guess this piece that's sold, which is cool. John, and I'll screw up your name. I've known it for years, but Schirmer? Yes. Okay. And I'll get out of the way here. And there were several of us looking at this earlier. So I have a question. What, you have these panels. Are those masonite or mat board or? It's masonite. Masonite, okay. That's what someone suggested. I didn't want to touch it, but I was really tempted just. Yeah, I love that suggestion of depth that you have in all three of your pieces. And the suggestion of depth is kind of cool because I love the way it's kind of stylized. And then, of course, you have the wolves. Who doesn't like a wolf? I mean, they're beautiful animals. Terrifying, but beautiful animals. And yell on trips out west, I have heard them howling off in the distance. But anyway, they're not going to come close to a person. So, but yeah, beautiful animals, and you captured them quite well. The texture of the fur, the stylized nature of the background, and then this wonderful kind of mottled snow. But what I really like the most about your work is that suggestion of depth from the actual layers that are created there. I think that's what you're getting at, and it's working for you. Okay, and then Pam Lander Revere. And I looked at that one for quite a while. It looks almost like a Greek icon. And Mary even has that kind of low, long nose and the stylized eyebrow to nose form that a lot of these icons had, but Picasso also picked up on. So if you look at a lot of his works, that's how he abstracted human faces a lot of times, was just with the brow line dipping down to the nose. But it does what I think it's supposed to do. It gives you that sense of, there's a sense of sadness about it, but there's also a sense of reverence about the piece. The colors are good. I would like to see, I wonder if the painting continues up above her head. It would be nice if maybe there was just a little bit of space between the top of her head and the kind of aura or halo and the mat. So that's something you could think about. And something that you could consider, I have a friend, well, he passed away, Richard Dutton. I think a lot of you knew Richard Dutton. And he would occasionally use gold leaf in his works, especially as non-objective pieces. And you could consider some gold leaf. I know you used a gold, looks like a gel pen, in these little kind of starbursts or snowflakes or whatever you want to think of them at. It creates a pattern. But you might consider that gold leaf because in those Greek icons, that's something that they used a lot of. So it'd be a wonderful way of continuing that, that suggestion, even that tradition.
Yeah, I do paint icons. Yeah. And I usually do use a gold leaf, but this was
Okay. So cool. Yeah.
And actually, it is bigger than that, but I didn't have time to cut it different. I just put it in the frame.
Okay. Well, you could consider just that inner mat, maybe cutting one that's a little narrower so you can see. Yeah. So, but it's a gorgeous work. So, I don't want to take away from that. And then Mark Shafer, Guardian. And it has kind of some of the same feel, although this is a little bit more abstracted. But and this piece is a very interesting work to look at. I love the starburst, the greens, and all the little colors that are in there. I even like the Roman lettering in there. Yeah, this is nice. This is kind of a cross between a kind of a Greek icon type of thing and who's the British artist that did all the Blake, yes, Blake. There is some quality of Blake in that. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, William Blake was that? Or I was trying to get John in there, but William Blake. Yeah. I stopped teaching art history in 2020, so I've started losing that information as I go. So, but that is a very interesting piece, and I'm sure I can sense some of the symbolism in it. I get a kind of a sense of some of the images you see when you read the book of Revelation, especially the description of some of the angels that were around the throne of God with 6 wings and all these things. But anyway, it has a lot of those qualities. It is a interesting piece to study. And I'm just looking here. Is this upside down? Is that? That's my signature. Okay, but is it upside down? Okay. That's cool. I like that. Well, I know, but it just says you could maybe rotate it even a little bit, but okay, I like that. Sometimes you sign. Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming that's a date, but I can't read Roman. And once I get past about 20, I can't read Roman numbers anymore. But I do like that, and I like the formality of some of those aspects that most people don't really pay attention to that or don't think about it that much, and I like the thought that goes into that. And John, I think I've already talked about that. I do really like that. I love those little highlights in there. And you just kind of make that climb up to here, and you see that wonderful transition from the trees to the sky. So, should I talk about anything else? Oh, yeah, I do, until the end of the month. I think I'm supposed to pick it up on the 30th. Thank you. I get to plug my show. Yeah, so that's been fun. So I tend to forget that Fairfield's halfway to Burlington from Ottumwa. So to me, Burlington seems like it's a long ways off, but it's not really that bad from here. So go see my show. It's in the Art Center in Burlington. So I had never been there, but it's a real nice facility. What's that?
It's on Jefferson Street, like 300.
Yeah, it looks fairly new, but they may have rehabbed an older building.
Old Woolworths building.
Okay. Yeah, but from the outside, it looks like new construction. There's a lot of fairly tall buildings in downtown Burlington. This is short, so that's an easy way to find it.
Thank you, Mark. And while we're plugging, whoa, I lost my, whoops, sorry, Werner. It's in my pocket. While we're plugging shows to go see, I noticed that Icon has a walkthrough this Friday? 25th. The 25th. I'll stand here. So a walkthrough, I'm going to be gone, but at Icon there are 3 artists, Bill Teeple, John, and Greg Thatcher. It should be very nice. It is a very nice show, and you'll hear a lot about it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We do have our 2 winners, Wendy and John. So we want a picture of you with your art piece. We'll get a picture afterwards. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful spring day, and look forward to having a lot more art activities this year. So, thank you.